Hi, welcome to our channel, Those Twins Who Knit. My name is Rachel.
And I'm Jessica.
And on this space, we like to share all the things that we've been up to, mostly knitting-wise and a little bit of sewing.
And this episode is super fun because we just got back from Flock last weekend. So we do want to share a little bit about what that experience is like. We didn't get like a ton of videos, so we're not going to do like
A whole vlog.
Yeah, or anything like that. But we do want to share the things we got and some of the experiences that we had. So we had a great time and it was really good to meet so many other knitters and dyers, and it was just such a great experience.
And it was our first festival, so it was like a little overwhelming to experience a ton of people there, but we were just really grateful for the opportunity that we got to go, and we got to meet so many people. We got to spend some time with Maddie from By Thread Knits and meet so many other people. So
yeah, so we'll share everything that we got at the end in the acquisitions portion, but we did just want to start out chatting a little bit about how beautiful the Pacific Northwest was. We did go out a little bit early before the festival with our husbands and got to spend some time kind of in the Hood River area, and then also out by the coast, like near Cannon Beach. And so that was just absolutely beautiful. And then we ended up in Seattle where the conference was, and got there super early on Saturday, right when they opened at 10, and spent the first 2 hours really just going through all of the booths, taking a look at everything and just making like a mental list of what we wanted. And then we went to lunch with Maddie, like Rachel said, and it was so good to get to know her better. And it was just really fun to, talk to someone who also is on YouTube and hear about what her experiences have been like. So that was super fun. And then we went back and like made our final purchases and decisions after lunch. So I think that was good for us to kind of like process for a minute and then come back and be like, okay, these are the things that we like truly want after like having noodled on it for a minute.
Honestly, I've heard so many people say that they go Saturday and look and maybe get like a few things, but then come back Sunday and like really make purchases and spend time, because I guess Sunday's a little calmer. And if we can do it again, that might be something we want to do, because yeah, Saturday was really busy, but in a good way.
I hear that things would be sold out Sunday though, because there were a few things that I was eyeing
that did
like
look
in
like
the
they go
morning
fast.
that even by the afternoon were sold out.
But overall, it was a wonderful experience. There were some sheep, so we loved getting to see them. I guess they're always there and very popular. We got to meet Sari Nordlund, which was like absolute dream come true. We got to meet so many other knitters. We had people tell us they watched the podcast, which is fun to hear in real life because like our brains don't always process that. So like hearing people say that was really fun. And it was just a really amazing overall experience.
Yeah, we really want to go back again next year. So hopefully we can make that happen, because we had a great time. And I feel like now we have a lot of perspective that like next year we'll be able to do it a little bit better.
Yes. For perspective, in addition to Flock, the other thing that got us out there was that our favorite band, Death Cab for Cutie, was having a concert the weekend before. And so we were trying to like kind of book into the trip of like starting out, getting up for the concert, and then having a little bit of time and then Flock. But because we were on that kind of schedule, we didn't get a lot of time after Flock, and it just felt like a little bit of a tight schedule. So I think we'd love to come back next year and be able to like do some of the more like getting to do 2 days and getting to do the little what's the brew thing that they did? Oh,
I don't remember what it's called, but that evening
like
they
get together.
Yeah, they had like a get together.
So just things like that we didn't get to do this year because our schedule was just like weirdly tight for a vacation. And so yeah, we're already like dreaming of next year, hopefully.
So we'll continue to share about Flock throughout this whole episode, but did want to get back to what we typically talk about. So I'll share what I'm wearing, and that is the Lacy Loops tee by Other Loops. And I used 2 strands of the fingering weight Undine yarn by Ritual Dyes, which was really kindly gifted to us by Unwind Yarn Shop as part of their make-along that they did with Ritual Dyes to celebrate them getting the Undine yarn in this summer. And the colorway that I'm using is natural. This yarn does come in a DK weight, which you used, but I used 2 strands of the fingering held together to make a DK, since they didn't have any of the natural base in the DK color. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did have kind of a little saga to go along with this particular shirt. I had a really odd issue, and I'm really not sure what happened. But after I finished knitting this and I blocked it, whenever I blocked it, the water turned super yellow. I've never had that happen with a natural yarn, but the water was like it looked like beer. It was so yellow. And so I ended up having to block it not block it. I soaked it multiple times. I would soak it and rinse the water and soak it and rinse the water to try to get some of the yellow out. And then when I actually blocked it, laid it flat to dry, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I think where the yellow was pooled along the edges of the sweater in the creases, when you lay something flat to dry, how it gets creases in those areas. I think the yellow really pooled in those areas, and so I had lines or stripes with this sweater when it was blocked, which was so weird. And I was like, what is happening? I've never had that occur. I remembered a conversation with someone who had washed and dried this fabric, and I had originally done that with my swatch and decided I wasn't going to do that with the final sweater because it did shrink my swatch just a little bit. But I was kind of I'd rather have a sweater that's maybe a little bit smaller than I intended than a sweater that has lines on it, was kind of my logic. And so I did end up putting the sweater in the washer, just one cycle on the delicates, and then I threw it in the dryer on the lowest setting that I could and ran that. And somehow that did get all of the yellow out. I think it looks good and everything. It did shrink a little bit though. I didn't take measurements before, but it does feel smaller now. But it still has enough positive ease. I think it looks good. I was going to say, it's got so much positive ease. I don't think that it's... Yeah. But it is smaller than I think it was supposed to be. And I think it feels smaller. I didn't take measurements because I was dumb and I should have. But I think if I take measurements, I think it was bigger before I put it in the dryer.
I like it still.
Overall, I'm super happy with it. I still think it's cute. It still feels like a nice summer knit. It's a cotton linen material, so it still feels very light and breathable. Really happy with it. It was just I've never had that happen sort of thing. I had to troubleshoot a little bit. So I'll be curious. You used the same yarn.
Yes, I did.
In a dyed color, not the natural way. And I don't think you had the same experience.
Well, I haven't blocked mine yet.
Oh,
so we'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll find out the what is the saying? The jury's still out on that one.
Maybe
we'll find out.
Yeah. Overall, I do think it's really cute. I do really like this tee. I'm super happy with it. It was just kind of I wasn't expecting that sort of thing.
I still like it. I think it turned out fine.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel normally we try to coordinate, not coordinate our outfits, but kind of match the vibe. I feel you're very summery and I've gone straight into fall.
Yeah.
But I finished the vest that I'm wearing last time. And when we last sat down and podcasted, I just finished it. No blocking. I think I was still tying ends in at this point. And so I liked it on that. I was oh, I like the way this has turned out. But then once I blocked it, I was ooh, I really like this.
I really like
So I wanted to bring it back. So that's why I'm wearing this today. And I'm wearing the Audrey top by Sari Nordlund. Not to be confused with the Audrey top by PetiteKnit, because I have knit both. And I knit this in Oenling No. 1 in the color wine, and I used 3 skeins for it. I did knit one of the smaller sizes, but the yarn was left over from a test knit that I had done previously in the year. And so that yarn was gifted for test knitting it, but then I had skeins left over and was this is enough to do a full project with. So that's how this came to be, but I really like it. For it being kind of a stash busting, impulsive cast on, I was
no, that's really cute.
I feel really cute in it. So I was happy that turned out. I did talk last time, so I won't go too much into detail, but my gauge was very different than what Sari Nordlund's was in the pattern. So I would definitely recommend gauge swatching as always. And then she also has you use the same needles for all of the ribbing sections. And I went down pretty significantly. I think I went down 3 needle sizes to get the ribbing to where I wanted it.
Did you do that for both the collar and the sleeves?
The little, yes. So yeah, I went down pretty significantly in the needle size for that. Other than that, I don't think there were any other modifications, but if there were, I probably talked about them on the previous podcast because that's when it was a little bit more fresh in my mind. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks now since I finished this, but really happy with how it turned out.
It's really cute. The first finished object that I'll talk about is my Friday tee by PetiteKnit, and I used the classic sock base by Coast to Coast yarn in the colorways Pigeon Milk and then Lights Out for the contrast color. And I love this so much. I just think it's so cute. It was so much work because of the fingering weight. Like, I feel like it doesn't look like it reflects the amount of time that went into this, but the fingering weight just made it so small, and it took forever, but I really love it. I'm so happy with how it turned out, and I just think it's so cute. I really love it. It's comfy and it fits well, and it was just fun to knit, even though it did take forever. But I just loved how like the stripes kept you entertained, and every row was different because you would alternate between doing knits and purls one row and then knitting the next row. So it really was just like a perfect kind of mindless knit, but also somewhat engaging still. Like, even though I didn't really have to like think about it a lot, it still kept me entertained, if that makes sense.
I honestly want to copy it really bad.
I loved it. I want to make another one. I was playing a little bit of yarn chicken with this particular sweater, and at the very end, I did run out of the original yarn that I'd been using, and I just borrowed some from you, which thankfully Rachel had some left over from some socks that she knit previously. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera because you can really only see it in certain lights, but you can kind of tell that the bottom of the hem is just a little bit of a different color than the top of the hem. And I probably should have done a better job, like alternating skeins and blending that in. But I tend to tuck this type of shirt into my pants anyway, so you never really see the hem. So it didn't really bother me. But that is something that could potentially bother some people. So I think that's just a note to self if I ever make another one of these shirts. I think I had 2 skeins of the main color and then 1 skein of the contrast, and I probably should have picked up 3. And I knew going into this project that I was playing a little bit of yarn chicken, so that's on me. But like I said, I tuck it in. You're never going to see it. It doesn't really bother me. And in some lights, you can't see it. It's just in some lights, it is kind of obvious. It really just depends.
This is what you wore to flock.
It is. It's what I wore to flock. So, which I was glad that I wore a t-shirt to flock. I was debating because in the morning, it was one of those days where the morning was cold, and so I was wearing a sweater to breakfast, and then I was like, I think I'm going to be okay wearing just a t-shirt the rest of the day. And I'm glad I did that because it's actually really hot in the convention center. I don't know if it's just because you're like excited and walking around and there were a lot of people, but like I got pretty toasty in there. So glad I had something lightweight on.
So my first finished object today is a little bit questionable if it is a finished object. I think it is, but I don't know. I'm going to start with it because it's my only garment though. And that is that my Claude top by Brenda Calota is, I will say, mostly finished here. So I knit this with the same yarn as Jessica's Lacy loop tee, except for this is the DK version and this is in the color Hyacinth. And I have not blocked it yet. But the main reason is because the pattern has you pick up stitches to create I-cords around the edges. And I was like, that's probably a good idea. But for some reason, I didn't really want to do that. And I kind of thought to myself, maybe I can just do like a crochet edge around it. And I don't know how this happened, but most of my crochet needles ended up in my classroom. Being off for the summer, I wasn't there. And so I was like, I'll just wait till I go back to work and it'll be fine, which I am back at work now. But I don't know. I think I sat with it long enough looking like this that I was like, does it look bad not finished?
I don't think it looks bad not finished.
Yeah, I can't tell if I'm like just being, I don't want to be lazy about it. Like I want it to really feel like a finished object, but I kind of do like the way this looks. And so I thought I would show it here today as kind of a finished object. But if you can really nicely tell me in the comments, am I doing an injustice to this by not finishing the edges, or does it look like a finished piece? We'll hold the edges a little bit closer so you can kind of get an idea. This is not blocked, so we're not too critical here. Hopefully the focus. Oh, if your face is here, it's not going to focus. Does that look okay? Do I need to go back and finish this? So right now we're putting it in the finished category, but it is possible that I will change my mind on that. Another thing that I just thought was funny, and I think blocking will fix it, but you can kind of see where I was knitting flat for so long, and then when it joins in the round, the little broken rib columns that it creates kind of start slanting. And so I thought that was funny. I think blocking will be able to fix that. But even for not having been blocked, and maybe
it looks really good, even really for not having been blocked.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So I don't know.
Honestly, you could probably just steam block it instead of just doing like a full wet block.
I could do that. I don't know. I usually always block garments. It might feel weird to not, but yeah, I don't know. I like it. We'll see if I add more to this or if this is what it is. But if nothing else, I will definitely go back and steam or wet block it to make sure that that's done. But yeah, maybe a finished object. Maybe.
And you made this also as part of the Unwind Undine make-along that Unwind was hosting with Ritual Dyes for this particular yarn base.
Yes. So as part of the make-along, if you buy at least one skein of the Undine from Unwind Yarn Shop, you finish an object with it. You do have to finish it. But would this count as my finished object if it's not?
I think it counts. I think if you can wear it.
Yeah, we're going to count this as finished. Yeah. But if you finish it and show evidence of that by the deadline, which is August 31st, you'll be entered into a giveaway for $50 to Unwind, which is exciting and coming up really fast. So we need to get our finished objects going. Or pictures, finished object pictures.
Yeah, we still haven't taken pictures. We need to do that.
So maybe after this. We'll count it as finished object for today.
The other finished object that I have for today's episode is a pair of Petal Drop socks by Florence Miller, and I used Coast to Coast Classic sock in the colorway K Sera. And I think you also knit a pair of socks in this exact same yarn, which we did not coordinate.
I started it first.
You did actually, but you didn't tell me that you started it. So I don't think it counts as me copying you.
But mine are more simple. I think yours are a little bit more special.
I don't know if more special, but they're different.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can hold this up so that you can see kind of the texture. The Petal Drop socks just have this like lace motif that run down the entire sock. So that was super fun to knit. And because it's just like it's like yarn overs and then decreases the whole way. It's not like you have to have like a cable needle or anything like that to make the pattern, which was really nice. It made it super easy for plain knitting or like car knitting, which is mostly when I worked on these, was during our trip to Flock. So this was what I cast on the day before our flight, so I would have something to do during that time. And I finished them pretty much on the way home. I didn't, for some reason, I didn't want to do the Kitchener stitch on the plane, so I got them all the way to the end, and then I did the Kitchener stitches when I like got home. But otherwise, I was able to finish them on our trip out to Flock. So these are kind of my Flock socks.
So mine were in the same yarn, which is that K Sera by Coast to Coast. And I started these before, but I was kind of looking through like the yarn that I had, and especially sock yarn, because I wanted some sock projects for traveling and everything. And I just was feeling like I treat my socks too precious, and maybe my sock yarn's too precious too. Like sometimes I don't want to use a yarn because I'm like, it has to be the perfect pattern for it.
Yeah.
And then I spend all this time making a really elaborate lace sock, and then I don't want to wear it because there's been so much time put into it. And I was like, I want to get into socks that I will actually wear a little bit more. And I do have some pairs that I wear all the time, but there's also socks in my collection that I'd never wear because I'm like, they're just precious, which is not true. You can wear any socks you want. But all to say is that I wanted some simple socks. So for this pair of socks, I started with just a like twisted rib at the top. And then I went into a 3x1 rib the entire rest of the way down. It's got a heel flap and gusset. And I used 64 stitches with a 1.5 US size needle to get that size that I wanted. And other than that, it's like really simple. I don't know if I have a whole lot more to add to it, but I do really like how they turned out. I saw yours afterwards because I had started on mine already, and I was like, oh, that's really pretty as well. But I don't know, there's something about this color that I thought would go well with lace. It's true. But I do love how simple yours are. I think that's really cute. They were very easy to work up. I actually finished one before we even went on our trip, and then this is one that I finished on the trip, and then I cast on another pair of socks out there. So I'll talk about that with our works in progress, but we've been very much in a sock knitting mood, which is good because I feel like we haven't
I've only knit 2 pairs of socks outside of this one this year, and I'm like, who
this is my third pair too.
Normally I feel like I knit a ton of socks, and I'm like, I just haven't been sock knitting this year, so I'm glad that I'm getting back into it.
Yeah. And last but not least, in our finished object category, I'll throw one little small one in here, and that is another scarf number 1, because I had one on the podcast last time. What actually happened with this was when we were editing the last podcast, and I was going through trying to find like example pictures of different patterns that we were talking about, I saw on the designer's website in Ravelry that she had a little yellow scarf number 1, and I was like, wait, I have yarn that's perfect for that. So this was like some little leftover stash yarn that I was just very inspired to use up after I saw that picture. It was very much an impulse cast on, but I was glad that I saw that picture because otherwise this would just still be sitting there as a skein. And now it's a cute little scarf. So the scarf number 1 is very easy. You start at the center and it just grows and grows. You can make it whatever size you want. It's probably a pretty good beginner pattern, honestly. I really think that it was easy to work up. It was while I was still enjoying my summer vacation, and I think it only took 2 or 3 days. So just kind of a sweet little additional throw in today. Now that we've gone through our finished objects, we'll transition into works in progress. And so the first one that I have is one that's been on this podcast many a times, and I am super ready to be over with it, but I have picked it up again, and I am determined to finish it because I really do want the finished project. And that is my Jenny cardigan by PetiteKnit. And so as you can see, I have now finished both of the sleeves, and I've added them to the body, and I'm starting to do the yoke decreases. So I feel like I'm making really good progress. But if you have not been here before, this has been quite the saga in that I originally bought this yarn for a different cardigan, cast that on. It was looking way too big, so I decided to frog that. I swatched for a different cardigan, couldn't get gauge. Swatched for this cardigan. My gauge was a little bit too big, so I decided to go down a needle size, but of course I didn't swatch for that smaller needle size. And then when I got like 5-6 inches into the body, it was looking way too small, so I had to frog that and go back up to a size US 7, which is what I had originally swatched on. So now my gauge is just a little bit too large. But then I got through the body of that. I'd accepted, like, you know, I'd rather my cardigan be a little bit too big than too small. But then I knit this whole sleeve right here. Well, not the whole sleeve, it's just most of the sleeve. And the cuff was looking way too small. Like, this is the sleeve blocked. And I just feel like if the cardigan body is going to be oversized, then this sleeve is going to look way too tight, even though I followed pattern directions and everything. So then I decided to put this on scrap yarn, retire this sleeve, and then I knit a whole different sleeve. And this one has been blocked, so you can see this is a saga. It's just such a saga. Like, every step I've had to redo. Now it's like, to me, that looks a little bit better. It's like it's still like not like a super oversized sleeve, but it's no longer like skin tight. Like, if I'm just going to be ridiculous right now and put this one on, like this one's like skin tight, it feels like that.
you see the difference? It just looks, I think it looks better.
Do the Macarena.
How to do the Macarena?
You don't know how to do the Macarena?
No.
Okay, sorry. That's gonna make it. We're gonna keep a cut of that.
In order to increase stitches on the sleeve for like a wider ribbing here than what I originally had, I ended up just doing 12 additional stitches when I cast on. And I did do a tubular cast on just because I thought that would look really nice and clean. But the reason I did 12 stitches is because the ribbing down here is in a 2x2 rib, and so it's a multiple of 4. And so at the time my logic was like, oh, 12 would be 3 repeats of 4, so that'll be great. And I felt like 12 stitches would be enough that it would still look, you know, like based on the pattern's intent, like it wouldn't change the pattern that dramatically, but it would just give me a little bit more of that width that I was looking for, so it wasn't just like super skin tight. But in hindsight, I probably should have done 16, and that way it would have been an even repeat of 4 stitches. So then I would have had 4 repeats of 4 stitches. And I think that would have made increasing a lot easier, because if you can see on my sleeve here, I kind of had to make one of the increases just like offshoot off of the other side. And it's not super clean and crisp. Like it doesn't really look as nice as I would like it to, as far as like these increases go. After you get to about like here-ish, there's no more increases. So it's really not that big of a deal. It's like maybe a like 4-inch section right here where you can see that. And I don't think anyone except for me would ever notice. And honestly, if I hadn't been doing these sleeves so much and like just run into so many other issues with the sweater, I probably would have just frogged it again and done 16 and then had this whole section look a little bit nicer. But I'm just like, I've had to redo so many pieces of this sweater that I'm kind of over trying to get it perfect. And I'm like, you know, done is better than perfect sometimes. And we're just move it on and it's going to be fine. And it's not that big of a deal. Like no one's really going to notice, especially in the grand scheme of the entire sweater. Like I don't think you're going to pay attention to that. But that's where we're at. But I have gotten to the point where I finished both sleeves. This one has not been blocked the same way that this one has. So they're looking a little wonky. But then I just added them to the body and I've done maybe like an inch and a half here of the decreases on the yoke. So I am excited that every row seems to get a little bit shorter because now I'm doing the yoke decreases. And I think that's going to help my motivation a lot when I can like start seeing progress and it starts getting quicker. I do love this like smocking pattern. Like I just think it's so beautiful. It is really fun to knit. I'm super excited for the finished garment. And as much as I've gone on a journey with this one, I do really still want to make the sweater version along with the cardigan version. Like I don't think I'm giving up on this smocking pattern in general. I think this cardigan though has just run into so many issues with like the yarn and the pattern and all sorts of other things that I'm just a little bit drained of it. But I do want to finish it. I want the finished object. I want to have it like out of my whips pile. And so I'm bringing it back as my like motivation to finish it.
Do you have a deadline you want to finish it by?
No, just like fall. Like I just want to be able to wear it for fall. I think it'll be cute.
I'll share my first work in progress, although I might end up frogging this one. We'll see. But I have started on a cardigan number 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I'm making it in the Noro Madara yarn in the color Sake, which I was so excited to finally get. I got it maybe December or January, but before that I had been saying for at least a year, if not longer, that I was wanting this yarn because I really love that it's like neutral from a distance, but then you get up close to it and it's got all these really beautiful speckles and colors. And I just think it's like the perfect art teacher yarn for me. And I was very excited about that. And I'm holding it with a Knitting for Olive mohair in the color Marzipan. And I'm loving how this combines together. I think this is so fun and pretty. I think it's really nice, but I've been really gravitating towards crew neck collars, especially in cardigans. And I really only have 2 crew neck cardigans in my closet that I'm wearing a lot that are like in my rotation. So I'm kind of thinking about frogging this and finding a crew neck pattern to do instead of a V-neck. So once I kind of had that thought, I put it on hold a little bit. It's got such a big gauge that it's not taking very long. Like this was not a huge time investment for me. And so I'm just kind of considering what's going to be in my wardrobe more. I do feel like there's this double-edged sword of like whatever is popular now, the opposite will be popular. So I don't want to put too much stock into like what I'm liking now versus what I'll like in the future. I think that either way, I would like a cardigan in this yarn, but I am really drawn to a crew neck. So if that's the case, I'm thinking about maybe the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta, mostly because I remember High Fiber Knits, or Emily from High Fiber Knits did, I think, the exact same yarn. I don't know if she used a mohair, but I think that she used her Noro Madara yarn for that pattern, and it looked really good. I've also knit 3 Traveler cardigan now. Traveler's cardigan. I love the pattern. I just think it's a wonderful pattern, and it's so easy because like the button band is knit at the same time as the body, and so you don't have to go back and pick up the button band, which is really nice. I'm currently getting around like 15 to 15 and a half gauge. So if you know of a pattern that you're like screaming this is perfect or anything, definitely share that too. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. I kept it on hold for a little bit while I marinate on these ideas, but I'm really leaning towards starting over. We'll see. But I love how the yarn's turning out. So it is a beautiful fabric. Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. It's fun just to knit up because then you see all these little different speckles, and there's colors in here that I didn't even realize. Like it is truly a rainbow of colors. So really fun. My next up is a pair of socks, and these are the Pointel socks by Marie from In Her Skein Knits. And I just thought it was so cute because it has these little like picot edges on the top, and then the fabric looks like a little Pointel fabric. So I'm really enjoying it. I literally just started these, so it doesn't really look like anything just yet, but I'll hold it up so hopefully you could see the inspiration of what it is supposed to kind of look like. It's supposed to have these little like flower motifs that go down the front. And then, so there's 4 repeats of the flower motif, 2 on the front and then 2 on the back. And so 2 of them will run down the entire length of the sock. So it's very simple so far. It's, just like a little lace chart that only has like yarn overs and decreases in order to make that pattern. I do need to try it on here soon because I'm starting to wonder if it's not looking a tad bit big. I can't tell if it's just because the lace socks that I just did kind of like scrunched up until I blocked them. And so maybe I'm just like, they have like a recency bias where my last pair of socks looked pretty small, but these look like they might be a little bit big right now. So I'm getting to the point where I need to try these on here soon and see how they actually look on my ankle. But I do think it's going to be a really cute pattern, and I'm really enjoying these socks. And I was kind of nervous about this little like picot edge because I'd never done one of these before. And I don't know, every time you haven't done something before, it's kind of like, ooh, is that going to be really complicated? But it really wasn't. It actually went by super fast. So I think it's really cute. I'm excited for him. I think it's very cute. Yeah. And I thought that this would be just the perfect, I don't know, like kind of girly pattern for this like sock yarn. This is Button by Coast to Coast, which is a color that we've used a ton. I feel like we always have it in our stash because it's just a perfect go-to sock yarn. So I'm excited to see how it turns out in these little socks, but I think it'll be cute. My second work in progress is also a pair of socks. So we've just kind of been back to our sock knitting. I feel like we used to be so good about that. So it's exciting we're back. This is the Summerlee Cuff Club from Volume 2, and this is her August month. So I bought the Cuff Club from last year, and while I loved it, I loved seeing all the new patterns and different designs she came up with. I actually didn't use any of them, so I kind of thought to myself, maybe I won't this year. And then I saw her first pattern, the little flower motif, and I just was like, I like that. So this is the August color work that she released, and it's these little is it going to focus? Little flowers that are on the cuff. She has them in twos. I almost thought about adding another row to it, but I kept it the same. And a little bit of a modification I did. I changed the cuff from what she recommended. So she has a 2x1 cuff on hers. I did a twisted rib 1x1, and I also added the little contrast color at the top because I thought that that was cute. And then I also brought it back on the toe. And the yarns that I'm using on this are Emma's yarn in the color Whisper. I've got my needle in here, which is just a really nice classic white, almost or an off-white maybe, but really simple. I like to have this one in stash. And then this is a like yellowy greenish color that I believe is Fuzzy Peach Fibers Golden Hour color. I lost the label, but I'm pretty positive that that is correct. And this yarn was kind of special because I was able to buy it when we were out in Portland last year. And I just really liked the idea of being able to work that up, hopefully before the trip, but that didn't happen. So I worked it up on the trip. Although I have so much leftovers, I'm definitely going to be able to get another pair of socks, if not more than that, from this skein, because it's really just the contrast color that it's serving for this. But it just felt nice to be able to get kind of a souvenir yarn on the needles, and especially to be able to work on it while we were out in the place that we got it from. So that's my other work in progress. They're so cute. They're cute. I was kind of second guessing because I feel like it's a little bit different than what most of my style or other socks look like, but they're so much fun. I'm honestly looking at my stash like, what else can I do with these little scrappy yarns? Because I've got so much left over. Like, I made one pair of socks and then I have leftovers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't know. I need to get more into the color work maybe. So just really fun. They'll look better when they're blocked, but they always do. We are now into our acquisitions, and I think we're a little intimidated because we don't normally have a lot of acquisitions, and for the past several months we haven't had like any acquisitions, but today we do have a lot. So we will be sharing everything we got from Flocked plus a couple of other things today. So I'll start with the only sweater quantity of yarn that I got, and that is from Nuber Yarn Co. And this is the Vintage Campout collection. It's their Hudson DK base in the colorway Old Town Canoe. And I just fell in love with this green colorway. I just thought it was so cute and would be so fun for winter this year. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to make, but I'm kind of leaning towards the idea of doing like some sort of like all over cable pullover is kind of what I'm thinking. But something that was really cute about this yarn or interesting is that the dyer only does 3 skeins at a time. So when I went to go pick out this yarn, I knew I wanted 6 skeins since I wasn't sure, what I was making. I felt like that would give me enough yardage to be able to make most patterns that I would want to make without having like a ton of leftovers. So it's kind of just going on like the average yardage that I need for like a typical DK weight sweater. And I was like, oh, like where does it show the like dye lot on the label? Because most of them have that and this one doesn't. She was like, oh, I actually dye 3 at a time, so I don't typically put dye lots. You just kind of have to like pick out ones that look very similar. So I sat there and kind of like, made sure that these all looked the same. And honestly, all of them looked very similar. They were like very consistently dyed. I'm pretty sure I would have been okay with just about any of them, but I did try to do my best to find ones that I was like, okay, I don't think we'll have like any issues or anything with that. And so I will probably alternate my skeins throughout the entire thing just to like make super sure that it looks good when it's all knit up. But I don't know, something about this green just like spoke to me, and this yarn is so soft and fluffy, and I just thought it was really cute and will just make a really good sweater for this winter. I got 2 sweater quantities because there was just too much to choose from and I was really liking a lot of stuff, but we did try to limit it a little bit. And my first one is from the Wondering Flock. I got a sweaters quantity, so I actually got 6 skeins, but I thought that might be a lot to try to hold up. And this is in the color Sky Blue. And this is the Mohair. So I only got Mohair that I'm planning to hold double. mostly because Geraldine from the Wondering Flock was there, and she had this really cute white dress with a fluffy mohair cardigan over it, and I just fell in love with her outfit. I thought it was so cute. She very nicely let me try her cardigan on, which was so sweet. I wish I'd gotten a picture of it because it was so cute. It was in more of a like fuchsia color, and I thought it was really pretty, but maybe not for me. But I found this blue color and just thought it would be really cute. I don't know if I'll do the same pattern as her. I actually wrote it down and can't remember what that was, but I'm thinking about doing the Copenhagen cardigan by PetiteKnit. So I'll have to swatch that soon and see, but I think it's going to be a little blue cardigan for me. So we'll see what that comes or becomes.
And then you also got a second sweater quantity.
Yes, I did. And then I got a second sweater quantity, which is this DK, kind of a marled like brown and pink color. I think the brown definitely is a little bit overpowering from a distance, but then up close you see the little bit of pink that I think is so cute. So it's just kind of similar to the I mean, it's not the same, but the idea of it looking far away neutral, but then up close you see a little bit of color, kind of like the Noro yarn. I think I like that little bit of a surprise to it. So this is the Les Garçons in the color Jill and Vincent. I believe Jill and Vincent are both separate colors that they sell as solids, and then the marled version is the like combination of them. And I really have no idea what I'm going to be doing with this yarn yet. I just had a hard time walking away from it, and we even went to the booth, came back, and we waffled over it for a little bit. I just was in a place where I was like, I don't think I can leave without this. So I'm not sure what it will be yet, but we have time to think on it.
So while we were there, we also had to go to Explore Knits and Fiber and look at all of their different yarn. And so we ended up each getting 2 skeins of the Denali sock base. And so the colors that I ended up with are this Macross like green color, and then this linen kind of like light gray, silvery type color. And I got Trailhead, which is kind of a purpley wine color, not terribly far from what I'm wearing. I think I'm just really drawn to this color right now. And then Bluebird Day, which is kind of a cornflower blue. That's very similar to the socks not like too similar, but not that far apart either.
No. I realized after getting all of my yarn that I think I have kind of a color story going on. I think I'm just really drawn to these kinds of colors right now, and I kind of like that they all go together.
It's cute.
Like it's fun to hold all of them and be like, oh, they all look good together.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this sock yarn yet, but I never feel bad about introducing more sock yarn into my stash because I always find socks along the way that I want to knit, and I've got like a huge Ravelry list of socks that I want to make one day. And most socks, just take like the 1 skein of sock yarn, so not too worried about it. I have no idea what I'm going to make with these, but I think they're going to be really cute. And were you thinking about doing color work with yours so they would be in the same project?
Possibly. I think they would look good together.
They would. I don't know that I'll do that with these. I didn't really buy them with the intention of doing that. I just liked both of these colors individually. I guess I could if I needed to, but I kind of picture these as like their own solid socks.
I kind of think they all look good together.
They do. They could all be friends.
Yeah.
And then speaking of sock yarns, Chloe from 96 Yarns reached out and offered to send us some sock yarn, which was so sweet of her. So we absolutely love the colors that she sent. She did ask for our opinions on colors, and these were the ones that we sent, but they were just absolutely beautiful in person. And so this is the color Denim and Amber.
And then I got Black Cherry, which I realized later is also somewhat similar. I think I'm just really drawn to this color. I can't stop. And Elderberry.
They all look good together too in here.
I believe she has different like seasonal things. So this is kind of the fall collection, or will become different seasons. So very autumnal. I think they're going to be perfect for this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also sent us a little, I don't know, I want to call it a little bouquet of the DK minis. So you can see some of the same colors. This is the Black Cherry and the Elderberry. the denim, and what was this color again?
Amber.
But then there's also the other colors that are in the fall collection that we didn't get in sock form, but we have little mini versions of to be able to see and show. And they're just so perfect for fall. I think that they're really cute. So in addition to our yarn, we also came home with a lot of yarn related things from Flock. So we thought we'd share some of those things. And our favorite was probably that people gave us stitch markers. So kind of like the friendship bracelets at Taylor Swift concerts, like people were giving away different stitch markers and just trading. And we didn't really know or think about this being a thing, but we're definitely going to take note for next time because it was the sweetest thing. It was so nice anytime people would come up to us and give us stitch markers, and that was so fun. It was just a little knitting community piece that we really enjoyed.
And I don't really have any like cute stitch markers. Like usually I use paper clips as my stitch markers, not gonna lie. So now it's kind of fun to have like cute little ones that have this fun memory attached to them.
They're special.
Yeah.
And then we also got matching hats. We're now matching with Maddie from Buy a Thread because she got the white one and she showed it to us, which is what inspired us to buy these. We were like, oh, we didn't even see that booth. So these are from Mabel and Jess. I believe that Mabel is a cat and that Jess is the actual person behind the business. But it says, I'd rather be knitting, and I wore it back to my first day at work. My principal saw it and was like, that is a really great hat for you. So that was fun.
And then, of course, since we were at Flock, we did have to come away with some like official Flock merch. And so we both have matching sweatshirts now that say Flock Fiber Festival. So very cute. It's kind of in that color palette that you've been loving. So that worked out well. And yeah, we did make our husband stand in line and purchase these for us because the merch line when we first got there was absolutely insane. And they didn't really have anything better to do. So they were very kind and they offered to stand in line and purchase this for us. And I had to laugh actually because I think both our husbands actually walked away with t-shirts of their own. They're not knitters, but they were like, you know, we'd stood in this merch line. We needed evidence that we were here. So they also have matching Flock t-shirts now too, which I think is funny.
And lastly, we thought we'd finish with just the tiniest bit of sewing. I didn't do a ton of sewing recently, and I haven't done any, so it won't be a ton, but I did work up two of kind of the same pattern, so I'll talk about them a little bit together. I had a lot of leftover gingham fabric from a pair of lane pants that I sewed recently. And I took that leftover fabric and made up a little Rami top by Tessuti Fabrics. I hope I'm saying that right or pronouncing that right. But I thought that the little top was so cute and I liked wearing it as a set where it was like gingham on gingham. It's kind of a lot. It maybe isn't an everyday outfit, but
it's so cute.
Really enjoyed it. It's one of those where if you don't style it right, it might be pajama-y. But I like it, yeah. And so I was super excited with how that turned out. I thought it was really cute. I did think that the pattern had a lot of length in the top. It is definitely not a crop top. I shortened it by at least 5 inches. I don't remember exactly how much. I should have written it down, but I cropped it quite a bit. And so then when I was trying it on and making that top version, I was like, this would be really cute as a dress. And I looked it up. The pattern actually does come with a dress, but I didn't want to go back and print out a new thing and tape the pattern together and do all that. I was like, I think I can just figure it out as it is. So I took that top pattern and I lengthened it by 6 inches. And I remember that because I was working with not a lot of fabric, so there was not a lot of room for me to extend it longer than that. But I took some leftover black fabric and I made a longer version of the top that then became a dress. So I did make the top and the dress version, but I only used the top pattern. And I thought they were both really cute. The dress, there's times where I'm like, that is so cute. I did something there. And times where I'm like, that is a rectangle. It's not that impressive, but I think it's definitely a good use of some scrap fabric. It felt good because both of them were from stash or from scraps, leftovers, that it felt good to use it up in a way that I know I'll get use out of and that it's now functional and not just like scraps shoved in the corner of my craft room. So that was kind of fun. Very quick, pretty easy. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much if you have made it this far. We know this is probably one of our longer episodes, so we do really appreciate you being here still. If you did say hi to us at Flock, thank you so much. We absolutely loved getting to meet people. It was just so much fun. So we're just feeling very inspired to continue knitting and looking forward to the fall. So definitely let us know what's been inspiring you lately and what you're looking forward to knitting up this fall. In fact, I think our next episode will probably be some sort of planning video because it's been a good minute since we've done anything like that. So once again, just thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it.